Hello my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. So we're looking at Super Typhoon Maria as it sits off the coast of China just south of Japan. And this is a very strong storm, and now this is its current position. If we're going to take a look and see what's going to be happening, we go one more day out, drawing in close, going to be heading through really through the straits between Taiwan and southern Japan, as going 2 days out, just about to make landfall, and then makes landfall in China. And this is a serious storm. It's very, very strong, and it's one of those things that the poor people over in China, we definitely need to keep an eye on. And it's going to bring a lot of rain all throughout Okinawa as well, and extend on down as well and towards Taiwan with the rain. And if we are going to go back, and let's take a look at the other side of our globe. And currently we do see that system forming over here that we were talking about again off the Carolina coast. Now yesterday the models changed and it had it going basically out to sea and being nothing, a non-event. And let's take a look a day out. It's still hanging there. And 2 days out it's still hanging there. And 3 days out it starts to move up the coast and then skirts over by New Brunswick. So I would keep an eye on this, because this storm is still hanging around and developing. The more time it spends over there with the warm Gulf Stream waters, the stronger it can become. And it might not be a big category 2, 3, 4, or 5 hurricane, but you don't need that to cause all sorts of destruction and problems. And really what is the worst thing that we're seeing is when these areas just stall out and stay over one spot and just keep pouring rain down on that spot. And so this is something to watch. And many people, including myself, are highly suspicious of everything that's going on. And this is close enough to where one little nudge and it'll just be stalled out somewhere in the northeast, and it could stay there for days on end and cause havoc, as we have seen before. Remember Sandy, and remember just so many other storms that we've seen this year that don't even have to be tropical systems, and they just are just devastating. So keep an eye on this. Definitely watch this, especially if you're up in the northeast. So when we look at what's going on, and this was at 802 earthquakes a little while ago, which is a huge amount for Hawaii. Right now it's at 792 in 24 hours. And if we do look, we do have a 5.4 volcanic eruption today, so that's an uptick. And as we've been saying, this is nowhere near over. And God only knows how long this is going to go on. So they're giving us a 5.2 a couple days out, then a 5.3, now a 5.4. And with the total number of quakes really being in a 24-hour period as high as I can remember seeing, my thoughts would be this looks like, if anything, it's upticking. But we shall see what happens in the coming days. And just the fact that they're allowing this to be listed as a 5.4, I find interesting and curious. And perhaps and probably it'll get revised downwards, I would guess, knowing the way that the trends are with the USGS. And if we look around the Ring of Fire, otherwise it's all quiet down in South America and Central America right now, besides the Caribbean plate over there. Typical activity, California and Alaska, nothing huge, just kind of normal what we've been seeing. 5.9, that's relatively strong, again, not breaking the 6 barrier. This is New Zealand. A 4.3 also in New Zealand, and a 4.9 up in Samoa, 5.5 New Caledonia, and then smaller ones elsewhere. So scientists defy force of nature to unlock secrets of Hawaii volcano. And here's a scientist all dressed up in, that's not going to be very protective against lava, and going and getting a sample of lava to analyze. And so they're still, of course, monitoring Fissure 8, which is the one that's been pouring out the most lava, and fountains of lava as high as a 15-story building from a slope on Kilauea now. So as we know, it's been pouring into the ocean. It's ongoing. It's been erupting constantly going back to May 3rd, and they are monitoring it, and we shall see what happens. Now we still have that heat wave going on. We have thousands without power in Los Angeles after high demand due to heat wave, and that's obvious. Also, we're going to have a weak CME possibly incoming 9th or 10th. But with the conditions of the magnetosphere, everything going on, it's something to keep in mind. It'll definitely be very uncomfortable if we have any problems and the grid goes down for a little bit out in that area. For sure with those temps, 108, 110, very, very intense heat going on. Some people are starting to wonder, excuse me, what exactly is going on with these huge swings. As more and more people, start to, I'm getting so many of you guys just saying, have you checked out this guy, that guy, and it's all about Planet X Nibiru. There's so many people jumping on board with that whole line of thought right now, as we've seen all these crazy weather anomalies and all these interesting signs. We see that dust storm from Africa just spreading over both North and South America. And so some are thinking, well, maybe it's not all the dust storm. Maybe it's actually stuff coming in from above. And last night when I was out late at night letting Zeke do his business, that's my dog I rescued, it did seem like the whole sky was abnormally orange with the night sky. And boy, was Mars bright last night. And people have been talking about the brightening of Mars. As we know, the planets really are getting brighter because there's all this activity that we're experiencing, not just Earth, but the other planets in our solar system as well, from everything that's going on energetically. And so we are seeing the effects of that here on that planet, and of course this heat wave has been extreme. And you have power outages going on, 34,500 people in the dark without fans or AC. So pretty intense. And remember that heat wave also up in Canada, which actually killed dozens of people. And Canada getting temps over 100 as well. Very intense and very, very interesting times. Fire crews make significant progress in Goleta as some residents return to find charred ruins. And so firefighters on Saturday continued to battle a destructive fire that snaked through a hillside area of Goleta in Santa Barbara County, one of several blazes that destroyed homes amid a record-setting heat wave in Southern California. And so making some progress there, thankfully. Japan, over to the floods, the death toll is rising, and this could be much, much higher than what we even have now. Now we have nearly 80 people believed to be dead in Japan after 3 days of torrential rain made rivers burst their banks, just wiped out roads, took down bridges. As you can see, houses flooded to the roofs. Many people had to get on their roofs to escape the water and await being pulled out by helicopter or boat. And so it's really a massive rescue operation going on over there right now. And the assessment of the number of injuries and deaths has been very difficult because how big the area is. Landslides, you name it. Emergency warnings for severe rain remained in effect for 3 prefectures, with 300 millimeters predicted to fall by Monday morning in parts of the smallest main island of Shikoku. Drier weather is expected, thankfully, in the next few days. But they could still have landslides, and they still have a mess to clean up. And let's just pray for those people. Wyndham, Minnesota facing cleanup from flooding. Des Moines River is to crest Saturday afternoon. And again, this is global. So we're seeing it here. We saw it in Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania. Recently with the flooding, we've had flooding just in the past few days, also severe down in Atlanta as well, Tennessee. We have the 416 fire still going on. Thankfully, it's about 50% contained now, so it's starting to get under control. However, we have warnings coming out today. Residents of 317 homes in some neighborhoods affected by the 416 fire have been notified via code red phone alerts to be ready to evacuate if the storm series that began Friday night causes flash flooding. And so, this is ongoing as well. We've had just flooding everywhere, and now, this area, now they're starting to get more into that monsoon season. And, hopefully the rains will knock out the rest of the fire, but also let's hope there is no flash flooding. And, from the fire, it's going to, obviously, it's wiped out so much of the vegetation, which will give you, with the flash floods, the bigger chance for landslides. So it's just this big cycle that goes on. And we have UN official calling for an ark, a new Noah's Ark to save the world from global warming. And every day we are seeing evidence of its devastating impacts, as we see Al Gore's worried face here. And so still there are so many talking about global warming and not really realizing the whole bigger picture of what's going on, because this is far bigger than that small picture. As we know, this is a huge thing that's going on, and it's not even just our planet. It's much more than that. And we have President Trump off to Europe to meet worried NATO heads and then President Putin. And this is all very, very interesting, for sure. The things that are going on in the world with the huge trade war, which we've never really seen in our modern times. And as this says, with the established global order on shaky footing, President Trump's week-long trip to Europe will test the already strained bonds with some of the United States' closest allies, then put him face-to-face with the leader of the country whose electoral interference was meant to help put him in office, quote-unquote. So he's heading on over. He's going to meet the Russian leader in Helsinki as the finale of a trip with earlier stops in Belgium, England, and Scotland. And as we're talking about Belgium, too, we had protests, and it's interesting because some sources say hundreds of people, others say thousands came out and protest, and they were protesting not just President Trump, but protesting the war machine and NATO, and basically the fact that, as we've talked about, when you look at the military expenditures, if you take the whole expenditures of all of NATO, it dwarfs the rest of the world. It's not even close. And really, of course, the U.S. dwarfs the rest of the world as well, as the U.S. military expenditure equals anywhere from 8 to 10 of the next countries combined. And so we've talked about this before, how the U.S. is the military and police force of the cabal and the military-industrial complex. And so here, protesters were really, they're protesting NATO, and they're protesting the military-industrial complex as well. And just the fact that we should be focusing more on peace instead of, just basically spending all of this money on the military-industrial complex and making profits, for the great military machine that exists. So the rally on Saturday saw demonstrators marching towards NATO headquarters, where the leaders of the 28-member alliance are set to meet on the 11th and 12th of July for an annual summit. The activists represent an array of organizations that united under the motto, "Make Peace Great Again." That's actually a pretty good motto, "Make Peace Great Again." Chanted and carried banners reading, "Stop NATO, Stop War," and then "Trump not welcome" and "NATO game over," as they peacefully paraded in the streets. And so, thankfully, it didn't turn violent. You can see some of the signs: stop the blockade against Cuba and Venezuela, and we want peace and not war. So this was one that is something that I feel is, in my opinion, it's something that's good as far as promoting peace, because we do need to promote peace, and we do have to realize that the military-industrial complex and the banking cabal, they are really ruling the roost and manipulating so many, and people are starting to wake up to this fact. And so what could we do if we spent that money elsewhere? What could we do if we didn't take that money from citizens in the first place and had a totally different mindset? Because when you think of the amount of money that's spent on killing people, it's absolutely crazy and absurd. And look at what's going on with the poor citizens that haven't done anything wrong in Venezuela or in Cuba, because of not liking the politics or the leaders of these nations. The citizens are starving in Venezuela. They're literally starving. There's cases of them running into fields and murdering cows and butchering them on the spot because they're so hungry. And there's worse things than that even going on. And it's a horrible situation that should never be allowed to happen. And people don't seem to realize that the blockades that go on against these regimes, they're just hurting the average person, just the average person like you and me. They're hurting just normal, average, everyday people that have nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with the decisions of the leaders of the countries. And so some might say, well, then why did they put them in the first place? Well, as even with our country here in the U.S., how do we know we're really putting whoever in office that gets into office? Do we really trust it? Do we really trust the Diebold election machines, the machines that were supposedly controlled by Soros? Who can you trust, honestly? Well, we can trust each other, and that's what we should do, is trust each other and start to take back power locally and do it in peaceful ways. And we could do it by saying no to all this spending, demanding cuts in spending, especially when it comes to the big military machine that is just spending absurd amounts of money, when there's so many other humanitarian things that we could be spending the money on, or not taxing people in the first place. Because, as I said before, we had an American Revolution against the British taxation, and it didn't even compare to what we have now going on taxation-wise. It's just crazy what's going on, and the system is completely broke. And I'm not, as I've said before, I'm not Democrat, I'm not a Republican, and I feel like both of those parties are beyond repair. They're beyond repair. So I think we need to have people wake up and step out of them and just, it's time to out with the old and in with the new. And we need to revamp the system totally, because it is so corrupt. And it is so for the corporations. This is a corporate world. Even the national boundaries are illusions in so many ways. As this says, and I love this, invest in people, not in wars. The wars are done for corporate reasons, and the war machine makes tons of money, and it makes the rich richer, and it culls the population to keep us under control. These are the type of things we have to realize, and we need to come together. Yes to peace, and this is yes to peace, no to NATO. Stop arming Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Israel. Stop arming everybody, period. I mean, why should we get excited about new war machines that are just going to be used to kill fellow citizens? And maybe we're a citizen in the US, but easily we could have been born in the Soviet Union or China. And would we be much different? Would that make us evil? Hell no. And we need to realize that. If you were born on the Palestinian side, or if you were born on the Israeli side, that is, fate, luck of the draw, what have you. it doesn't make you a bad or good person, because people are just people. They're in the systems that they're in because of their circumstances. And so we need to change the systems that are broken, and you don't do that by just having nonstop bloodshed and war that is only profiting corporations and the half of 1% that sits at the very top of the pyramid. As we have realized now that we live in the biggest pyramid scheme ever concocted. And as we're waking up and realizing that. So Moscow's air defense system is unique, able to intercept any targets as a commander. And this is the S-400 anti-aircraft system during a rehearsal for 2018 Victory Day parade. And so Moscow is protected by state-of-art air defense system, which adopts the most modern weaponry available and can intercept any incoming targets. A top commander said amid celebrations of the 100-year anniversary of the unit. And I think, yeah, I would love to see no more military parades in any country of the world. Let's see parades for life and parades for good things. Parades for new ways of farming and new ways of basically fixing the planet instead of destroying everything, including each other on the surface of the planet. This whole military mindset is not a positive thing, and we need to step out of it, and we need to realize that it's just one tool they have used throughout the ages to keep us under control, compliant, and it's at the point with AI and technology that pretty soon you will see drones in the streets in cities that will be armed and able to just basically take out people at will, and you'll probably have robotic cyborg policemen walking down the street at some time too. It won't even be a human with emotions and a heart, that will be going and patrolling. It'll be machines that will be simply programmed to act and react to people in certain ways without any emotions, without any heart, to control them. So we need to make changes now before it's truly too late and we find ourselves locked into a system in which we cannot escape. Thankfully, the first children from Thai football team have been rescued from flooded cave, so says authorities. So 6 of the 12 schoolboys trapped in the flooded cave have been rescued and taken to a hospital. A Thai official confirmed on Sunday after the nation began a daring rescue operation. A senior member of the rescue operations medical team said the 6 boys were rescued during the operation on Sunday. According to Reuters, 4 of those rescued have been safely delivered to the hospital. And the additional 6 boys and their football coach remain in the cave in Thailand's northern Chiang Rai province. A total of 90 divers, 90, that's a lot, 50 foreign and 40 Thai, are involved in the rescue mission. Today we are at peak readiness, the lead rescuer said as he announced the start of the operation. The entire operation is expected to take 3 to 4 days, according to a military commander involved in the effort. 13 medical teams have been stationed outside the cave, each of which has their own helicopter and ambulance. And so thank God that that's happened. And I don't doubt that a good part of this good news is due to everybody's intention, their focus, their prayers. Can we affect the weather conditions? Yes, I think we definitely can. I think that the power of intention, especially if you're talking tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, is tremendous. As we looked and learned from quantum physics, this is a world that doesn't even truly exist unless the observer is observing it. That's part of the fundamental nature of reality, is that the observer is the key. So, yes, prayers work. Yes, positive intentions work. Meditation is extremely beneficial. Focused intention is tremendously powerful. So we need to combine and use our powers for good and do things exactly like this. And let's see the last of the 6 kids coming out of the caves happy and healthy, and their coach as well. And let's see the families reunited. and let's see this situation end on a 100% positive note. And let's also now focus our intentions on Japan. Let's see the floodwaters receding. Let's see the cleanup crews going in. Let's see many rescues happen and people be saved. And then let's also focus our attention over on Super Typhoon Maria and see the energy dissipating. Let's see it slow down when it's at sea and lose its steam. And let it quickly dissipate when it comes on land, or better yet, let's push it off to sea where it doesn't come on land, if possible. But let's focus on the intensity being very low and not severe. And so, as always, my friends, thank you so much for being part of the Evolutionary Energy Arts family. We have tons of family members growing all the time, joining, clicking that bell so you get all the updates that come out. We do have Evolutionary Energy Arts family meetings starting to happen and starting to get planned. And it's going to be growing, and there are people coming online that are going to be organizing them in different areas as we go, and we'll be announcing that. And really what we're doing in the meetings is we're just simply letting each other know who we are, and that we're here as friends and family to support each other and to help each other in times of trouble, and just sharing with each other our plans in case of emergency, in case of evacuation, in case of earthquake, flood, volcanic disaster, whatever it is. Just share our plans, share our thoughts, be supportive of each other, make new friends, have an extended family network that extends all around the globe as we move together as a unified unit, and one of peace, love, and wellness, and happiness, cooperation. Because what we're doing is we are going out of an age of ego, out of an age of selfishness and self-centeredness, out of an age of just blatant want for profits by the corporate entities of the world. It's been a corporate world. It's been a world of profit and greed at the expense of each other, humans, animals, and the planet. And so we're going into an age that is going to stress unity consciousness, love, peace, and cooperation, brotherhood and sisterhood, and that's what we're promoting. And it must always be done peacefully and always be done in a positive manner, focusing on the positive. We're aware of everything that's happening, and we don't have our heads in the sand. And we're waking people up by sharing the videos and getting as many people to see what's going on out there in the world as possible, and to wake up so we could shed the yoke of this corporate military industrial complex and banking cabal that has just completely controlled our reality. And we're going to manifest a positive reality, and one in which there is true brotherhood and sisterhood and cooperation, one that does not promote fear but instead promotes love and peace and unity. And we're going to use our power of our intention for positive purposes. So again, please thumbs up to support the channel, subscribe and join us, become part of the family, and share in as many places as you can. My friends, may you be blessed with abundant peace, happiness, well-being, love. May you always be kept safe, you and your loved ones. God bless, and namaste, my friends.